President Arce, thank you so much for joining us on America's Now.
My pleasure.
2022 has brought many challenges around the world. Inflation, migration, discrimination, crime and violence, and of course, climate change. World leaders have gathered here in New York to address many of those issues for the United Nations General Assembly. What agenda did Bolivia bring to New York in hopes of conquering some of these problems and solving them?
Well, as many countries, we are worried about what's happening in all the world. We bring our small experience, how we are managing the inflation and how we are facing the other problems. And of course, we would like to share all of them with the world, especially all of them about Mother Earth, which is very important for us, and also many other topics that we are sure that discussion with open mind discussions here in the Assembly, we can find solutions for all the problems that the world is facing so far.
You mentioned inflation. That is such a huge problem everywhere you look around the world, but your country hasn't really been impacted by that quite so much. You do have a background as an economist. So what is your secret? What is being done? What are you doing to keep the inflation rate manageable and lower than what we're seeing everywhere else?
Well, in one word is we have our own economic model behind. We have already finished the neoliberalist model in 2006 and put in place our own model, our own economic model, which is completely different. We don't believe in market instruments. We believe in the state taking into account the economy, being the leader in the economy. For instance, when we nationalized hydrocarbons in 2006 and so on, everybody criticizes. They say that they're not happy with what we are doing. They were not happy that the state was intervening in the economy. But so far, we are shown all the world that we were right. The exchange rate, for example, is one of the key issues for us. The state, fixing some prices, strategic prices for people, it's very important. Of course, that it means subsidies and so on, but the state has to do it even more in a world where we have a war in the world that is affecting many economic variables. So it's important that the state has to intervene in the economy very strongly. Because for the economists, we all know that is supposedly this war will be lasting, let's say, 1 year, 2 years. It's short run. So intervening, fiscal deficit, and other things will be, of course, also in the short run only. Therefore, people doesn't have to worry about the long term, because we are talking about the short run. In the short run, many things can happen, and if you don't take into account policies, economic policies, in order to avoid these kind of factors, you will have the inflation you have now, the exchange rate moving, the prices, the strategic prices, commodities and so on, going up, and many things that happen. And many countries that are only, based on market instruments and market conditions, they are not going to follow good results as we are looking so far. Even more, in many countries that are rising rates, interest rates, just to fight the inflation. Afterwards, they will face recessions, and the results will be most dangerous than than the measures they are taking today. So Bolivia, we did completely different things. We are improving, we're enhancing the production, food production. We would like to produce all the food we consume, and also we are industrializing. We are in a process where we are industrializing all our national resources, but also other things that Bolivia used to import. So we call it the import substitutions policy, and we are succeeding with that. We are producing now, so that's why we are less dependent from import goods, and that's why when there is inflation all over the world, we only worry about the oil prices, but because we import oil, we produce gas, but we don't produce oil. So we are also introducing a new plant for producing oil, the natural diesel, from plants, you can produce it, and that's the way we are doing, trying to substitute imports, producing them with our own resources. So our policy of substituting imports from all the products we are importing, that's the way we are facing the import inflation that are facing many countries. And also, when you improve the production, when you substitute imports with your own production, you face less inflation. And also, it means that you have to control the exchange rate. And if you look at the market instruments that many people that is applying, the neoliberalism, still they are applying neoliberalism, they are facing those problems because markets does not guarantee the stability that people needs now.
So, Mr. President, does your model, can it be replicated by other countries of a similar size or other developing countries? Does it work because of the size of your country?
Of course it can be used in many countries, either if they have natural resources or not, because when you talk about import substitution, you look the potentialities you have into your countries that can substitute your imports, first of all. Second, you improve the production, and then you have better income for the country, and you have to redistribute. That's the key issue for our model, is not only to the production, the import substitution, but also it's very important that with all the economic excedent you have in the economy, you redistribute it among people. And that's the way, we are solving our problem. We are reducing poverty, we are reducing the inequalities, which is very, very important. Many economists, they are not looking at the inequalities in the society. And one of the things that we have to solve in these years is the inequality. And the income redistribution in Bolivia is helping us to reduce the inequality. And reducing inequality, more and better redistribution, income redistribution, with more in production, that's the recipe for everybody, I think.
Because malnutrition and food insecurity has been an ongoing issue, but it's been much improved in recent years. It sounds like you're doing even more to change that for especially children and young people.
Yes, that's correct. There is, food for the municipalities that we call the local governments. They give to the children every day, what we call the scholar breakfast, and they are better food, but with Bolivian protection. That's the key issue for us. Bolivian production for children, and if you produce your own food, you will be able to solve the problem.
You mentioned subsidies. when it comes to fuel subsidies, that has been a policy that has been rejected in other countries. Colombia's new president, Petro, just announced the intention of eliminating it inside his country. And recently, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, recommended that Bolivia dismantle its gas subsidies plan. I want to get your reaction to that.
IMF always criticized that for our model, not only for fixed the exchange rate that they say, but also because we have subsidies in gasoline and so other and many other products from hydrocarbons. But now, now I think they have to change their mind, because the war between Ukraine and Russia and many other things that happened in the world in the last 2 years, 3 years, you are almost obligated to do it. Because if you don't take actions to subsidy these kind of products, you will have inflation in your country, as we are looking at many countries. It's happening now. So they have to change their mind. They have to understand that many policies that in the past were criticized for them, now they should be, recommended to all the countries to adopt this kind of policies. Otherwise, they will face inflations and other recessions and other things afterwards.
How is the pandemic going in your country? I know earlier on, China and Bolivia had a lot of cooperation when it came to vaccines. I just want to get a sense of where things stand right now. And then I want to also turn to what other cooperation you have upcoming with China when it comes to business and the economy.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we're doing very well in facing the problem of the pandemic in Bolivia. We have to, when we took the power in 2020, in November, we didn't have any vaccine, any medicaments, and nothing to face the problem. Immediately, I took the phone, talked to Mr. Putin, talked to Mr. Xi Jinping, claimed for help in order to have vaccines. Fortunately, they gave us. We are very happy and very grateful to all of them. We received the vaccines, and we have a new policy in order to face the problem there. We had in the first wave of COVID-19, we had 6% of the mortal rate for this disease. Now we have 0.1, so we have under control, and hopefully we are just to come out from the problem, as many countries that put in place the vaccines and so on. So we are very happy with the results, and of course it's one of the things that shows that when you have cooperation with many countries, especially China, I am very grateful with President Xi Jinping that helps a lot. Also Mr. Putin in the first moment when the vaccines were available and at that time, they help us a lot. It seems like when we work together, when everybody cooperates to everybody, I think we can solve the problem. But it wasn't happening in all the countries and all the places. There were problems there. But in Bolivia, we face it that way. We have good results in the pandemic. And we have a lot of topics to talk about with President Xi Jinping and other presidents that I think we have to do it as soon as possible, because there are many problems that we have to solve as soon as possible in benefit of all countries.
When it comes to trade and investment, where do you see this relationship at the moment? And if you can, just quickly describe the ties that you have and where you hope to see that going?
Well, as many countries, we have problems as well. We are trying to solve the problem of investments, technology. We can talk to many countries to invest in Bolivia, but the condition is that everybody who wants to come to Bolivia, they have to industrialize our national resources, use our raw materials from Bolivia. We would like to industrialize our country. We have a lot of sectors that can be very welcome all international investors.
And this is China specific?
Well, we have mining, we have lithium, we have iron, we have a lot of things that we can industrialize. And also, we are not only talking about natural resources, but also, for example, agriculture, industry, tourism. We have a lot of things that we can develop with other countries as well. So there are many, many things that we can do together.
Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us on America's Now.
Oh, pleasure, my pleasure.